What's the mindset, the mood in the safety room right now, kind of the way last week went?
I think safety is a hard position at first, and you kind of can be easy to catch a lot of scrutiny. When you make mistakes on the back end, you're going to be punished significantly because of that. And I think there's been plenty of times this year when that's happened. I think that's fair to say. But we've, the guys in the rotation are, a hungry group of guys, who want to prove themselves and who are never pleased with their performance. There's always something that you can look at, regardless of how good or bad that you played. We made some mistakes. That's out there for the world to see. But I think those guys are made of the right stuff. I think you come back to practice and, you look at the tape as, good or bad as it may be, and as happy or disgusted as you might get when you watch it. You take the corrections, you take the coaching, and you go out the next week and you find a way to play winning football. And I think they've done that.
After Ronan, kind of made the mistake, and there were some issues. Here comes T-Bone onto the field, kind of like that coach. And I see you so involved on the sidelines, maybe even when you're not in the game. What is that like for you to go out there and kind of be that steadying influence for that group?
I think I'm passionate about playing winning football. I'm passionate about this university. I'm passionate about the people who make up this organization and the guys who I share a locker room with. And whatever's asked of me, I'm going to do everything I can to, exceed expectations. And if I need to get thrown out there, then I'm going to go out there and do the best I can with the opportunity that I'm given. I don't know about all the stability stuff that you said, but I just, I keep my head down and go to work.
And you get the block punt?
I did get the block punt, yeah.
What did you see there?
I wasn't supposed to go block it, I'll tell you that. I was supposed to block the guard, but, I saw something in their scheme. They were kind of zone blocking the backside of it, and they man blocked to the field, and they were kicked out, and I knew that they didn't account for me in the rush. So if I could just beat the one of the up backs, then I had a chance. And so I just saw that and went for it.
So is there like an option for you to do that, like in the special teams scheme?
Coach Gilchrist has given me some freedom. I guess it's because I'm so old to, if I see something that, he's trusted me enough and given me that privilege to go for something. And I appreciate that from him, letting me kind of play free and, if I see something, go for it.
Devo's talked a few times about, at least in his opinion, that the preseason hype, all that positive buzz that got to guys' heads, affected them in some ways. You're a leader on this team. You've been on teams that have had similar buzz and done well. Why do you think that affected this year's team, or how did you see it?
Yeah, he calls it rat poison, I think. I think going into this year, I think we had an incredible offseason from January to where we are now. I was really excited to see what this year holds for us going through camp. I thought we've had great leadership going into it. I thought we had a bunch of, young, hungry guys. This year has not gone the way that anybody in that locker room anticipated, and that's not a lie. I ain't making stuff up by saying that. Nobody foresaw this. It is disappointing, when something like that happens, when, you're so, antsy and ready for, potentially a really good season to come about. And, you make some mistakes along the way, and, some mistakes that you can't really recover from, then you'll lose games because of. And that's frustrating. That's disappointed. Guys ain't happy about that. The locker room is filled with a bunch of passionate guys who really, really care about this school and about playing winning football. And when we don't do that, which we haven't done, there's frustrations, there's anger, there's pain, there's guilt, there's all that. And, what I do know is that there's a bunch of guys who are really competitive and who want to, do the best they can to change a narrative and finish, hotter than we started.
Tyler Dabo was in here talking a lot about perspective today, and he mentioned that you guys had a conversation. I know the season's not over yet, but how, in your perspective, how do you fold what has happened so far this season into your overall career at Clemson? I mean,
From a record standpoint, it's not exactly the way that I wanted to finish my 6 years here. It's again what I just said. It's frustrating. It's all of those things. But you can still find a way to go win again. And there's always a reason to care more. There's always a reason to fight harder. And for me, that's the guys in the locker room. That's the coaches on the staff. And I'm thinking the same thing everybody else in that locker room is thinking. We got to go play Florida State this week. I've played them. I think this will be my 5th time playing them, maybe. So that's a rivalry game. That's a big deal. You got a state championship at the end of the year. There's always something to play for. And big picture wise, I don't typically like to think like that. That kind of overwhelms me. My whole career standpoint. I just show up every day and just try to play winning football.
Speaking of perspective, yours is going to be wildly different than somebody that's a freshman or sophomore. What's kind of been your words of encouragement to them this season?
Yeah, my career hasn't gone the way that I've exactly anticipated. That's life. Everybody's got a plan, and then things don't go your way, but you've got to find a way to roll with the punches, to adapt, especially in this environment. This is a performance-based industry. And you always have to be willing to adapt to an ever-changing landscape, which is what college football is. And so for a young guy, just having a competitive toughness to yourself to, you get punched in the face, you got to keep rolling, you got to keep going. You can, this game and the failure within it will crush a lot of people, and I've seen it crush a lot of people. But if you're one of the ones who wants to see it through and wants to try to find, a way to win again, the only thing you can do is to keep going.
You talked about the changing landscape and all that. Do you think it's tough on some guys? Now they're paid. There's kind of an expectation you have to live up to that.
I don't know about that. I think, young people having money in life in general can have challenges, but, I don't think that the reason we have had what we've had happen to us this year is because of NIL and revenue sharing. I don't think that it's because of that.
Any other questions for Tyler?
How you can say it hasn't gone exactly how you want it to. Like, how can you? What can be salvaged, I guess, from these last 4 games? Like, what's kind of your hope for what you can do?
Yeah, I think you got 4 games left, you just the feeling of dominating an opponent is one of the greatest feelings you can experience in football, and just trying to find a way, to play winning football again with the guys, and as bad as the moments can be, just don't wish them away, because you're never going to get this back, whether you're me or a freshman. You'll never get your freshman year back. And the good and the bad, you've got to take it all. So just finding a way to go play winning football for these next 4 games. And we've got a really, really tough opponent in Florida State coming in here for a night game. And so a night game is probably the last night game we're going to get. It's going to be a lot of fun. So there's always a reason to care more.
You just mentioned 6 years. Do you think there's 4 left and there's one more chance to run down with an entire team to run down the hill? then you'll get your chance to run down the hill by yourself. Do you stop and think about that?
What, for senior day? I haven't really thought about it much. I'm more of a touch your rock and just put your head down. You don't need to. I'm not going to take a bow. That ain't me. I don't deserve that. So, I mean, I don't really think about that. It's another game we got to go win, in my opinion. You know, other guys are going to have their own thoughts, but nah, it's.
What's next?
Take some time off and, you know, and then try to get my foot in the door somewhere and start coaching. So, hopefully.
You mentioned you don't think rev share or NIL has contributed. As you try and diagnose what's gone wrong in this season, how would you assess where some of the shortcomings have been?
Being a defensive player, I think I should, you know, I can speak to that part because I know that part because I'm with all those guys all the time. You know, I think that we've been too inconsistent at times in a multitude of games, in a multitude of moments where it matters most. We're on a good call, and there's no perfect calls, but you're in a good call, and you know, there's just one wrong step, you know, one bad placement with my eyes, and the parity within this game has made it so easy for teams to capitalize on those moments of uncertainty, you know, within defensive players, and you know that's going to happen. You know, you certainly, you know, you look at it as at the failure that it happened, and then you go back and get the corrections, and you try to, you know, be the best that you can next week. You know, as players, I don't think that we've been perfect with that. You know, but the effort, the intensity, the passion, and the care, the want to, has always been there. I think teams have done some good stuff against us, you know, to try to make it easier to make a simple mistake like that.
Anybody else for Tyler? All right, Tyler. Appreciate your time, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Tyler.